Well, they won't want me to say this, I know this, but this couple really is evangelical aristocracy.
Yep.
And it is a royal privilege and a first for me to have Stuart and Jill Briscoe in the same place at the same time. And I truly feel as if I've tried to find you around the world, not always with success. Jill, I've heard you so many times in Canada. I was in Cape and Ray, England, Cape and Ray Hall, when you came over in '81. Stuart, I went right to your church on my way to Briarcrest Bible College in '85. And that was Brookfield, Wisconsin, Elmbrook. You were away.
Of course.
So here you are now in a new season of life after 30 years at Elmbrook?
Yes, I was senior
30 years,
pastor
senior
for 30
pastor.
years.
They've now released you to share you both with the world as ministers at large
That's it.
Well, for
And-
the last 11 years.
for 11 years.
So we're still on staff.
And you're together.
Yes.
Well, we only travel together when we're invited to share the ministry. Otherwise, we go our separate
You
ways.
still do your
But
independent thing.
increasingly, we've been asked to share the ministry, which
we
we're
love.
happy about.
Great.
Yes.
But we've chosen to work a lot in developing world, and so we can't just go along for the ride. And so we always take the opportunities, or try to, that we're asked to do together first, and then we fill in with our own invitation.
When I was coming to the end of my time as senior pastor, I learned something that really shook me, and that is that 90% of the church leadership in the developing world has no formal theological training. 90%. That for most of them, no formal training is available. Even if it was, they couldn't afford it. And even if they could afford it, they couldn't get away for 3 years to do it. And yet we've got a rapidly growing church with untrained leadership, which is asking for trouble. And so we have been devoting a lot of our time trying to do informal training for these people at their invitation. And that's kept us busy for the last 11 years.
Wonderful. And I mean, this is still fresh, that you're able to spend the kind of time together that for years was not possible. You had very active, very international, independent ministries.
That's right.
How do you like it?
We love it.
Really?
We love it.
Yes, a lot of the time it's wonderful.
Here's a great celebration of this season of life. They just put it in my hands, folks. Holiness Without the Halo, finding unexpected joy and freedom in holy living. Now that's not easy to find. Maybe where you're traveling it is. I don't know how we're doing in the West on this one.
Well, I have to admit that when I was young, if I'd been asked to rate being happy, being healthy, and being holy, it would have been in that order. Because I was not terribly impressed with this whole idea of holiness. And that was because I completely misunderstood it. Now I think I understand it a little bit better. And I do understand that God said, I'm holy, so you better get around to being holy. And so apparently it's doable. But the kind of holiness that I thought he was talking about is not doable. And so it's an intriguing study to look at practical holiness and come up with a very simple conclusion, that holiness will lead to very genuine happiness and can contribute to health as well.
I'm sure we think that it's going to make us something we're not. I know as a new believer, I thought that holiness was best illustrated by Audrey Hepburn in the Nun's story. You know, walking with your hands folded and not speaking much. And I just thought, well, it's not me, but he's worth it.
Yeah.
And of course, hopefully you discover, like C.S. Lewis, you're surprised by joy and freedom in Christ.
Sure.
Right.
Well, holiness means separated. And if you want to look at it in the colloquial sense, to be holy means to be something else.
Now, what do you mean by that?
It means it means set apart by God to be something different
Than what you are.
from what is norm. What is the norm? And I think that's interesting. I think that's exciting, and I think it's what we're called to.
There's so much I want to ask you in this time. Grandparents of 13,
Yep, most of them in their 20s.
3 children.
We have one lives with us, and we're within reach of quite a few of them.
I love, Jill, I know one of the ways you're encouraging them to be good communicators is something you insist on when the kids come with their electronics and technology. Go ahead, tell us.
When they were in their teenage, they'd used to come when we were home with their friends, and it was pretty well non-useful for them to even appear because they were attached to the satellite, you know, on every ear and phone and watching the TV, and they're sitting in the living room. They've come to see us and they're not there. So one day I asked my 16-year-old, who are you talking to? This is in the middle of, you know, we're supposed to be talking.
Well, we thought he was talking to us,
Yeah.
and we were answering, and then we realised he wasn't talking to us at all. He'd got this little
Earpiece,
Yes.
I don't know what it was.
earbuds.
Yes.
But he was out in La La Land somewhere talking to his friend.
I said to him, who are you talking to? He said, my friends. I said, why? He said, I want to know what they're doing. I said, why? He said, well, I do. I said, you're not here. So the next time they all came, there was a big box outside the door, and it said, put it in here, divest. I had to explain what divest meant, but, and
You have their rapt attention when they...
you know how hard it was for them to do?
I can appreciate
I mean, it just unbelievable to take everything off and put it just for an hour.
It's the
scary,
texting under the
actually.
table at dinner that bothers
Yeah,
me the most.
that's right.
So I want to try to get this happening in our home. Tell us the story of how you two met. You were a
Do you want
banker.
his
I want
version
the-
or
so
mine?
we'll let the former
I
banker
can't
start.
remember. Oh yes, I remember. It was at Capernwray, the youth centre in the north of England, and I used to go there occasionally to help them. And Jill had come with a group of young people she was working with from Liverpool, and I saw Jill across a crowded room, and I thought she'll do.
Oh, you didn't think that at all.
Yes, and I was right.
A tall, slim, pretty girl is what you said.
What was that?
A tall, slim, pretty girl.
Oh, did I say that?
You did.
Was that you?
Yes, that was me.
Good for you.
I think we met in the context of kids. We, in England, we don't say dated, but we spent time together with some very interested street kids watching this phenomena. And we got married in the middle of these people. The pastor in the little church where we got married was shaking because the whole place was full of kids who were pretty
Little
well,
rough?
very rough. He never had his church full. And when he would say something, they'd all, yeah, you know, it was wonderful. We thought it was wonderful.
And, you know, that became the flavor of your early years.
That's right.
Was it the barn that became the warehouse
Yes.
ministry?
Yeah. Yeah, I met a farmer's wife. I gave her a lift into town at Capernwray, which is in the country, a big youth centre Bible school there. And on the way she said, I've seen all these strange kids with hair, all different colours, walking along the lane to your cottage. What are they doing? I said, well, they're trying to find out about God. She said, can I come? I said, sure. So she came to Christ. And they had a barn. They were farmers. And I needed a youth centre. And so she talked to her husband, and I went round, saw him, and he came to the Lord. And he said, would you like our barn? I'll put the cows out early. You can have
So
it
you can
for
have
a
the
youth
space.
centre. And so that became our first youth centre. And they used to come right across all those fields to the barn, and until we filled it, as you know. And then it was wonderful, marvellous days. And then we would be out in the streets in Morecambe at night, and they'd come to the Lord, and then they'd come to the barn. Yeah, it was great,
Radical stuff.
great fun.
And then you pushed that emphasis with some of those students. My friend says that you'd make them get up on those double-decker buses and share their testimony.
Well, wherever we were, in Morecambe or whatnot, that's what it was all about in those days. It was wild.
Was it difficult to transition to America?
I had spent almost 10 years back and forth to America before we moved over here.
That's
So it
because
wasn't-
Major Thomas needed some more speakers.
That's right. So
Filling that.
it was not difficult for me. Jill had some interesting experiences. One day, shortly after she arrived, a lady called, said, "Could I speak to Jill?" And I said, "Well, she's busy right now. Can you give me a message for her?" And she said, "Yes, I'm inviting her to a shower." And so I thought this was too good an opportunity to miss. And so I said, "Oh, just a minute, I think I can get Jill for you." And so Jill came over and I said, "There's a lady who's got an invitation for you here." So Jill picked, "Hello." And of course I could hear the muffled voice at the other end. And Jill went white and she put her hand over the phone. She said, "There's some woman wants me to go to a shower with her." And I said, "Well, Jill, when in Rome, you do as the Romans," and that's what they do in America. It's like Japan, where they take you to the baths. And the lady realized there was some hesitation, and so I heard her say, "Jill, don't be shy. There'll be 23 other women there."
Not in the shower, but after
Well,
the
I
shower.
don't know. We didn't go into detail.
You weren't sure yet, Jill.
It was, I had to be up for the children. We'd left 2 widowed moms, and our heart and life. Scratch me anywhere, you'll see Made in England. And but having an 11, 9, and 7-year-old helped, and we also, as I say, left 2 widowed moms, their grandparents, their only grandparents behind as well. So it was very good for me to have to make this incredible, an incredible adventure, basically. And it was an incredible adventure. It was